All right, M Sports crew, we are back. We are on to our next game Friday night, 8 p.m. Not only do we have Georgia Tech versus Colorado, which I got into in the last video. In this video, we're going to get into Auburn versus Baylor. They play Friday night as well at 8 p.m. They play at Baylor. So last year, offensively, Baylor was ranked 20th nationally. They passed for an average of 261 yards a game. They rushed for an average of 178 yards a game. Auburn was ranked 29th offensively. Passing, they averaged about 263 yards a game and rushing 165 yards a game. Now, defensively, Auburn was ranked 31st, right? We know they need to improve there coming up to this year. They gave up 213 yards passing and rushing 117 yards rushing. Baylor they weren't even ranked close to anything where Auburn was. They were really bad defensively. They gave up 234 yards passing the game. They gave up 152 yards rushing. So we know Baylor has to improve on that defensive end. They have a good offense. They really came on at the end of the year. They won 6 straight games, but that defense has to improve dramatically if they wanted to make a push in the Big 12 or even get into the playoffs and make a push. So I'm going to start with Auburn first off. They had the 8th rate transfer portal, according to 24/7. We know they had a top 10 transfer portal class coming into this year. They know they had to focus on that offensive line, defensive line, getting that together. Like I said, they gave up defensively, rushing 117 yards. All right. And obviously, we know they got Eric Singleton, the big pickup and transfer portal, and also Darrell Robinson from UConn. He had over 700 yards, 8 touchdowns. They had to replace Jarquez Hunter. He was their big running back last year. He had over 1,200 yards, 8 touchdowns. He moved on to the NFL. And Baylor transfer portal, they were ranked 50th, according to 24/7. Obviously, everything was defense. They needed to really focus in on addressing their defensive needs. So for me, the key to these games, in order for these teams to win, I believe for Auburn, for them to win, is they have to pass the ball, right? Pass the ball to set up the run. Normally, people will say set up the run to pass the ball, but I believe you got Coleman, you got Eric Singleton. According to PFF, they have the 2nd-ranked wide receiver group coming back. With those two dynamic guys, throw the ball, right? Get Jackson Arnold going. Once again, we know his years at Oklahoma didn't really work out the way he was supposed to. A former 5-star didn't work out. Now, granted, I don't think it's all his fault. Oklahoma didn't have a great offensive line. They had a lot of injuries at those wide receiver positions these last 2 years. They just can't catch a break with those wide receivers, those injuries at Oklahoma. But with these two guys, if he can just manage the game, don't turn the ball over and get the ball to these guys and let them make plays, it's going to help out a lot, especially in a game like this where Baylor, they're going to throw the ball, right? They can also run it as well. So to me, for Auburn, pass the ball to set up the run, right? On the defensive end, you want to get stops. Baylor, once again, it's the Big 12. It's up-tempo, air raid. But the thing with Baylor is they can run the ball as well. So you want to get turnovers, put the pressure on Sawyer, Robinson, make them one-dimensional, right? Figure out whatever you want to do, make them one-dimensional for Auburn. So once again, you had the 8th ranked class with the transfer portal. It's trying to see with these guys. And Auburn is favored in this game. So defensively, they should be a lot better than what they were last year, right? So that's my key takeaways for that. And also, too, at one point, I believe you are going to have to run the ball, right? Like I said, pass the ball to set up the run. With Darrell Robinson, he has big shoes to fill with Jarquez Hunter leaving. So let's see what happens with that run game. And I'm curious to see if Jackson Arnold starts. Once again, we know Hugh Freeze said he's going to play all 3 of his quarterbacks. I don't know how that's going to work out. I don't think that's a good thing to do, especially going against Baylor, which even though they're not the favorite to win this game, Baylor can win this game. I can see them winning this game. I just think, once again, the way they ended the season, everybody they have coming back, Baylor can win a game like this in their home, too. So that home crowd's going to be ready to go. So Hugh Freeze is going to have to figure it out, in my opinion, fast in that first half, figure out who's the quarterback and stick with them, because you do not want to keep switching out quarterbacks. It can go left real fast, especially going the first game is away. So for Baylor, for me personally, for them to win this game, you want to force Auburn to run the ball. Once again, I've talked about Coleman, Eric Singleton, their wide receiver group at Auburn. You want to force them to run the ball. Once again, you don't really know what they're going to have at the running back position with Jarquez Hunter leaving before. I'm forcing them to run this ball. So for me personally, this is going to be Baylor secondary versus Auburn wide receiver group. Once again, Baylor in the transfer portal, they really focus in on that defensive side. And if Coleman and Singletary just have a game first half, they're just getting passes, they can't stop, this game can be over pretty fast, right? So that's my opinion. Also, put pressure on Jackson as well. You have to show me that you can manage this game. I'm putting pressure on him. I'm giving him different looks if I'm a defensive coordinator, in my opinion, just to show him different looks, because I'm not the biggest fan of Jackson Arnold. Do I think he's going to play better than what he did at Oklahoma? Yes, because he has more talent. He has more weapons around him, obviously, at Auburn with Coleman and Eric Singleton. But I'm putting pressure on him. He has to prove it to me. And once again, you also have Bryson Washington back there in the backfield. He had over 1,000 yards, 12 touchdowns. And Dawson Pendergrass, he had over 600 yards, 6 touchdowns. I'm using those running backs as well, right? I'm putting the pressure on Auburn. I'm getting down the field. We are going to play Baylor Big 12 football. You're going to have to put up points with us. That's how, if I'm Auburn, that's how I'm looking at it, right? I'm forcing them on the defensive side. I'm forcing them to run the ball. I don't want them passing it down, or don't give up big plays. That's the main thing. If I'm Baylor, if I'm the defensive coordinator, you cannot give up big plays to this team, all right? And it's going to be secondary versus Auburn. And on the offensive side, once again, we are going to run the ball and we're going to pass. It's going to be very dynamic, and you have to stop us. Whether you want to stop us running the ball, stop us passing it, we're going to figure out a way. You have Sawyer Robertson. He had a really good season last year. He had over 3,000 yards, 28 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. We're home. We're going to set up this run. We're going to make some big plays, and we're going to get this crowd into it. So with all that being said, this is a tough game to pick. Like, I can see Auburn winning this game based off of just the talent alone, and if Jackson Arnold can just manage the game, don't turn the ball over. But I can also see Baylor winning this game as well, because I feel like Baylor right now, sometimes you could just meet a team at the right time. Like, I think about last year with Miami versus Florida, how Miami blew out Florida, but then at the end of the year, Florida was a different team. They won. They beat Ole Miss. I believe they beat LSU. They really turned it on at the end of the year. They showed why they have the hype going into this year. So I think Baylor, you can just have Auburn at the right time. I believe Auburn is going to be one of those sleeper teams, and I believe this is a game that they actually need, especially being in the SEC. And Baylor could use this game as well. Like, if you beat a team like Auburn based off of Auburn's schedule in the SEC, and if Auburn is who people believe, the hype with Auburn, that they're going to play a lot better, having a game like this is going to go a long way for Baylor. So, in my opinion, I'm actually taking an upset. I think Baylor, even though it's their home, I believe Baylor's going to win this game. If they could somehow get into a shootout with Auburn and they get down the field, I think, in my opinion, Sawyer Robertson is the better quarterback than Jackson Arnold or any quarterbacks they have. I don't know what the true freshman is going to be. We obviously know the hype with him, but we don't know yet. But I think if Baylor can get into a shootout and they don't give up big plays to allow Auburn to get down the field as fast as them, I think Baylor can pull this upset off. So I'm going with Baylor, even though I can see Auburn winning this game. I think this is one of those games, like how I say with Iowa State versus Kansas State. Like, it's a pick-me game. It's going to come down to the quarterbacks at the end of the day. I think with this game as well, whichever quarterback can make those plays at the end and don't turn the ball over, it's going to be a major thing in this game. So I actually have Baylor pulling this upset off. Do I think that means it's over for Auburn? No, but it's going to be a lot of noise with Hugh Freeze and that Auburn Tigers. So I have Baylor with the upset. I think this is going to be a close game. Let's see what happens. Put in the comments now, who do you have winning this game? Do you have Auburn winning or Baylor winning? And how far do you think Auburn can get into the SEC? How far do you think Baylor can get in the Big 12 as well? Until next time, it's Sports Crew.